Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for our final panel discussion. I request Sneha ma'am to be. Ma'am, please welcome. I request Ayyappa sir to be seated. I request Pooja to introduce Mr. Ramesh Padmanabhan.
Good evening. Good evening. Ramesh Padmanabhan, Governing Council Member, BAF. Ramesh Padmanabhan is a chartered accountant with over 25 years of experience in exporting outsourced casting and components. He also provides consulting in finance, marketing, legal, technology transfer, and training, both in India and overseas. He is a mathematics graduate from St. Stephen College, Delhi, 1980 batch, and has been past speaker at ICWAI, ICAI, and in private sectors. He has also served as a guest faculty at IIM Bangalore in finance and marketing. His journey with BAF began in 2021 as a Banshankari Cluster Council member, later serving as a secretary of the cluster. Since January 2025, he has been serving as a governing council member, contributing to several success initiatives during his term. We welcome you, sir. Thank you.
I request Vidya to introduce Mr. Krishna V.
Good evening, everyone. Krishna V, COO, Nemmadi, a seasoned civil engineering professional with distinguished experience across the Government of India, Ministry of Defence, and the private construction sector. Having served in various capacities within the defence establishment, brought deep technical expertise, administrative acumen, and leadership in managing complex infrastructure and engineering works of national importance. Transitioning to the corporate domain has held senior leadership roles including Chief Operating Officer, Chief Executive Officer, and Chief of Quality in leading construction project management consultancies and major construction companies. Demonstrated excellence in steering large-scale projects, ensuring cost efficiency, schedule adherence, regulatory compliance, and super quality standards. With a strong track record in construction project management, cost management, quality management, and process optimization, is known for driving organizational performance, establishing robust technical systems, and mentoring high performing engineering teams. A fellow of the Institution of Engineers, holds a degree in civil engineering from the prestigious BMS College of Engineering, Bangalore University, committed to professional integrity, engineering excellence, and continuous improvement in the construction industry. We welcome you, sir. Thank you.
I request Dilip DV to introduce Mr. Uday Simha Prakash, moderator of our panel discussion.
Good evening all. Uday S. Prakash, CEO Nemmadi. 𝗀𝗵𝗹𝗁 is a seasoned professional with nearly 2 decades of multi-domain experience in strategy, business development, project management, and change management. He began his career in IT industry, holding roles at global companies like Infosys, DHL, and ABN AMRO. These positions gave him extensive international exposure. Uday worked and traveled across the USA and Europe, including stints in the Netherlands, Czech Republic early in his career. In 2015, leveraging both his tech background and his family's construction business legacy, Uday Simha Prakash co-founded Nemmadi.in, a property home inspection service startup, and assumed the role of CEO. Nemmadi was conceived as an offshoot of AN Prakash Construction Project Management Consultants, 𝗵𝗵𝗃𝗃, a 40-plus-year-old construction project management firm founded in 1986. Uday's transition from IT to entrepreneurship in real estate allowed him merge process-oriented insights from tech with on-ground construction quality expertise. Today, he not only leads Nemmadi.in but also serves as director at 𝗵𝗵𝗃𝗃, indicating his active involvement in both the startup and the established family enterprise. We welcome you, sir.
I'll start with Mr. Ramesh.
Can you make it informal? Just call me Ramesh, please.
Ramesh, please. Hello. Ramesh, you've been part of 𝗵𝗵𝗹 for a while. You've dealt with a lot of different societies. You've met with a lot of them. What is one of the things that you've seen that were festering for a long time in terms of handover, in terms of technical aspects, in terms of law, in terms of anything that has been solved recently or has taken a course to a positive conclusion? The reason for asking this is we could try and understand how that has come about, because what we see is whatever we talk of, be it legal, be it deals with financial accounting, be it handover, these things fester. And if it doesn't come to a conclusion, then none of this makes sense. So, over to you.
See, good evening. The funniest thing is, it's like looking at an elephant and someone looks at it from the finance angle, someone looks at the elephant from technical side. But the most important thing which we have not understood, I would say, is we are still looking at our RWA and our complex as something to be managed legally. The real thing which we have missed out is we are missing a chance to create another mini Israel. You are not fusing all the talent which is there to create something which is better. Our energies are not working together. Everyone in this room, sorry, I may be digressing a little bit, may have heard of a company called Netafim. It came from one of those kibbutzes. Simcha Blas saw one tree which was growing in the desert and said, how is it growing? Because there was a leaking water line. And it led to the whole community creating a company which has international participation, and it is selling all over the world. We are only focused on these small battles and we are not coming together. We are looking at the battles separately, and this is the biggest crime which we are committing. Even if we want a new act to be passed, are we all going to stand together and tell the Chief Minister, this has to be done? Why do I need to meet you? This has to be done. How many times do we have to ask you? The lawyers are saying the act was not completed in 1972 for one hilarious reason. They never notified the officer to be appointed under the Karnataka Apartment Owners Act, and it was clarified it should be the registrar of societies, cooperative societies, but it was not done. And the real issue which is there is, we recently had a situation wherein a 3,000 or so apartment complex had a massive battle. 3-4 years accounts were not passed. We went to the meeting, we were asked to come in as observers. We ended up conducting the meeting with police and attending the meeting because there were two groups which were warring out and they had issues of fraud, etc. One thing which people have not understood is, you may have issues, but pass the accounts, please pass or appoint someone to do a separate audit of whatever is the fraud, etc. But if you were to stop the AGM from happening, you cannot move forward. Even in companies which are there, there are disputes which happen. The accounts and other things are passed separately, people look at it. And technically also, when you look at handover, takeover, actually we are having a situation, we are fighting with the builder also. Everyone has to be taken to court. We do not have a situation wherein we try to sit and talk with those people and say, come on, there may be 100 differences, 50 can be handled.
Yeah, so what I was trying to ask you is, what is something that we've come to a conclusion amicably amongst all ourselves? Since that you've been with BAF for such a long time, what is this? Yes, it is a very animous atmosphere. There are warring factions. There are people with egos. I'm sure in the many years that we've seen, there have been resolutions, people have made quantum leaps. So we want to learn from that so that then we can share that.
Quantum leaps are purely involving community management and internal management, wherein people have decided we want to resolve this and sit together. If people have their small agendas and egos, nothing works. And if we were to actually look at battles on even maintenance, as we were discussing, Purva seasons, how much is the difference? Are we all not willing to pay a little more or a little lesser? It all depends on how we look at it. We would go to Tirupati and contribute. Is it a problem to contribute a little bit? And if we all were to look at it, I'm fortunate to say we have one Sardarji here. Ask him, langar kis tarah chalta hai? He will tell you how the langar is managed. Everyone contributes, everyone works, nobody looks for returns. We need to look at ourselves that way and move on instead of fighting these battles with everyone, which does not actually yield much. And we are fighting a battle wherein land titles are in dispute, STPs are in dispute. There is nothing which is firm about anything. But if we all were to sit calmly and reduce this friction, please understand your personal lifestyle and your stress levels should go down by 30-40%. That is all that I can share. But how many of us are ready to come, sit and talk is the biggest question, challenge.
Valid points. Yes, Ms. Neha had a...
Point
Do we have one
to
more mic?
add to what Ramesh is saying. At a very large level, I do agree with him. That's very utopian, you know. But the real problem is, for example, there's some people. There's two old men from Ozone, and I know for a fact they've been fighting with Ozone for years now. And the community that's been created is for elderly senior citizens, and it's been almost 8 years plus, 5 years. They have not gotten their sale deed, no OC, and like you said, they have not gone to court, they've not done any battle, they've constantly been negotiating with Ozone, and nothing's come out of it. There are just promises after promises after promises. Now, it's very unfortunate that this is a kind of, you know, system that we're all caught up in. And when the situation is like this, there has to be some action. Otherwise, how long are you going to sit on the negotiating table? I think that's also a point that, you know, that came to my mind when you were.
Perfectly valid question which has been asked is how long do you sit on the negotiating? Yeah. Perfectly valid question to be asked how long we sit on the negotiating table. But please understand the community strength which is there is never engaged in resolving a problem. I also heard about the situation. I sympathize with these two elderly gentlemen on their issue. And let me also point out, Apartment Owners Act or whatever act we are talking does not actually handle everything pertaining to old age homes. What level will it do? There could be people with special needs inside. What happens if there is a fire emergency? There are a lot of issues to be thought about. And when you're talking about it, if everyone engages together, these issues necessarily get resolved because you find somewhere where there is strength and keep going out and keep talking.
So
Let me put it, it's very difficult to think that you do not have connections. That is the biggest challenge.
So what you're talking about is engage with the general populace of that particular society and leverage numbers.
Yes.
Moving on to a different subject, we have performed audits as Nemmadi in certain societies, I won't take names, where we've seen that there is an OC. However, the fire system exists, but it is non-operational. What is the next step? What is the course of action? I would ask either Sneha or 𝗵𝗵𝗹. And to 𝗵𝗵𝗹, is that a criminal liability? If there is a fire, then what happens to the incumbent management committee? They are not technical in nature. They don't know whether it's commissioned or not. But the builder would say, yes, it's working. But when we perform a technical audit, we see that nothing, it's not even online, right? So how does one then get recourse in this case? Please, thank you.
In terms of the civil angle, what the associations need to ensure is that your renewal, the fire renewal certificate is up to date.
Yeah,
That's
so
the number one compliance.
We've seen that these things have happened. This society is probably 6, 7, 8 years old. And this has happened in collusion with a lot of different officers, right? So in this is a very weird situation. I'm sure some of you would have experienced it. It's a very precarious thing. I mean, you are part of it. You don't know how do you handle it, because once this comes out, then you are again, you're on the edge yourself. So what is the step? Because you can't keep stuck in this quote-unquote 𝗀𝗵𝗃𝗃 forever, because once you expose yourself, then you are opening up yourself for criminal liability. If you don't, if there's a fire, then it's worse. So, right?
So the first step, of course, is to ensure that in terms of compliance, you're right. Right? At least you have a defense in law. As an office bearer, if I'm able to showcase that, look, I have a fire renewal certificate, and to get this renewal certificate, the officials are to come. Because what do the officials do when they come? They do a fire check. They're supposed to do the fire check to see if the systems are working fine.
They're supposed to.
Fair.
These guys have a certificate.
Correct, you're right.
Which has been renewed. But
So-
when a technical audit was performed,
It
the
wasn't
system
working.
was not even online. It was not even commissioned.
So that if there is a fire disruption in a situation like this, I think there's a criminal liability which will play. So I think 𝗵𝗵𝗃 should answer.
Yeah, with regard to violation of fire norms, I understand the practical realities, though there is something on paper saying that, okay, NOC is given by the fire department, but when you go visit the spot is missing. Fire extinguishers are probably expired, or at the same time they're missing in the right places. There are no adequate number of fire extinguishers, or probably wrong type of fire extinguishers also put. These are all violations we see in and out. I mean, it's not something new. I mean, this is how the country operates sometimes. Now, when you talk about a fire incident because of these non-compliances or violations, practical non-violations, obviously if there's an incident like Mr. Ramesh has mentioned about Carlton fire, that was a very serious, I would say, offense, but again, when you say offense, it's a negligent offense rather. Though the people who are made liable, you can only push it to a certain extent. Now, I believe that with the new law, the law of negligence is also kind of serious. It can attract punishment up to 10 years when you have knowledge that this particular non-compliance could result in a negligent act which could have been avoided. Obviously, you will be booked for death by negligence.
Sorry, I want to interject for a second.
Yes.
That's an important point, that the management committee members should be in the know, that they should understand that this is something that's missing. Then they are liable to criminal persecution.
That's right.
However, we've faced this situation where there is one party within the society that wants to understand and wants to know where the society is in terms of all these various aspects, and the other party does not want to because it's a question of money. Then does it still become negligent, or does it become something else? Because they're not saying no because we don't know, they're saying no because of various other factors.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm kind of...
No, I understand.
Yeah.
I encourage this. My perspective would be that now when you say a certain compliance had to be done as per the law of the land, you cannot bring in the defense of ignorance. Ignorance of law is no excuse. You can also not factor in the point that, the corpus is lesser, so we don't have money for fire safety. That cannot be the reason. Whether you sanction for it, when the law says you have to comply, you better comply. It is like having a pollution control board pollution under control certificate for your vehicles. Though you may not be straight away held liable, but again, if you are found with a polluting vehicle, you can simply prosecute under the Environment Protection Act and subsequent other pollution control norms. So ignorance of law is no excuse.
So I'd like to move this a little bit to Mr. Krishna. Mr. Krishna, you've been in the project management consulting side. You've been also in the you've been the head of quality audits, and then you've moved to Nemmadi. When you were on the side of project management and you saw that these various aspects were being done of installation, commissioning, and operations of fire safety, what are the various things that could have gone wrong, or what has potentially happened for this particular project not to have a functioning 𝗵𝗵𝗃?
Yeah, see, there are many projects, there are many builders, honestly, they try to adopt everything. They follow the procedures, but ultimately the maintenance, you see, if the fire sprinklers, I will tell you, fire sprinklers are somewhere it will be leaking. If it's leaking, the maintenance guy, what he does, he will, instead of the pumps should be on automatic on, he will make it manual. And no one knows about that. Even the association president, secretary, whoever it is, he will not know, they will not know. These are the manual. See, when it comes to the real fact, if something goes wrong, see, no one rushes to the pump room to switch on the pumps. See, I will tell you, the maintenance is also the main thing which everyone should take care, and they should be aware. See, at least the office bearers should at least once a month, twice a month, or probably once in 2 months, they should make a round and they should be aware of what is what. And I think that is the best way. It is not that the statutory things are not following, but the maintenance is the main thing which is not being followed.
So Uday, we just add on.
Please.
Now I understand the practical realities of the fire department not conducting their periodic inspections of the building, etc. But end of the day, please understand, sometimes you're there for your own self. You put certain preventive measures in place. If there is a fire accident, like how we recently noticed in Hong Kong, there's a major fire which looked like an inferno of sorts in a very dystopian era of sort of photos. Yeah, correct. Something on those lines. It's a Chinese government. There, I'm sure it'll be death penalty for all the building owners. What I'm saying here is, even if there is no statutory inspections conducted by the statutory authority, you take it upon yourself to ensure that you call third-party people saying that everything is in order. Because if something goes bad, it can only get worse. It's your own safety end of the day.
Thank you. Yes, please. 1 second, Mr. Ramesh. Sorry, Ramesh. After that, I'd like to open this up to the floor, because we've been told that we have to vacate the room by 5:30. So I'm sorry, Mr. Ramesh, and then open to the floor.
See, one simple point is, how many of you have EVs today? Electric vehicles. Anyone please lift your hand? Thank you. Now may I ask you a question? Are you aware that the lithium-ion battery, if it catches fire, which is there, your normal extinguishers will not work. You need a separate fire extinguisher. As of now, it is not part of the norms of fire safety with the Karnataka Fire Department.
Apart from that, if I'm not mistaken, the sprinkler system is also, because there's an electric fire of sorts, the sprinkler system is counterproductive,
Yes.
right? So, but then it says that if you don't have a sprinkler, you can't have a basement parking. But if you have basement parking and you have EVs, then you can't have an EV vehicle. So, I'm sure 𝗵𝗃 is talking about this. We've had discussions, but how do we go? What's the next step?
See, the next step is to identify people, like we are trying to talk to someone. We have a regular fire safety program which is conducted along with the Fire Academy and Beyond Carlton for all estate managers and MC members. We do this program about 3 or 4 times a year, depending on the number of people who volunteer. We have Aparna here, who has definitely attended the program. Please understand, we think that this will not happen to us. For all those who are convinced that way, I'm willing to sign your astrologer certificate that nothing will happen to you. Okay? I will also shave them for another 50 rupees, no problem. Agreed. We'll make it and I'll give you a laddu. But the point which we are making is, please do not go on the lowest cost tender basis to fix things like fire safety. Get the best possible vendors. Make sure they're committed. If you have some heat sensing, sensors and other things, they have to be top of the quality. They have to be working.
You're going to heat sensors. We have fans which are there in the second basement. We don't have carbon dioxide detectors. So these kind of things,
So it is up to us.
unfortunately, a lot of incumbent members of societies are not aware, which is sad, or they turn a blind eye because it's a cost, right? So it all comes back to a question of money at the end of the day. So, but when we try to explain to them, it's not money, it's your life, and only when there is a spark will people understand, which is sad. If it's okay, I'll open the floor to questions. Any questions, please?
Subject has not come in any of the discussion. Water contamination, water scarcity, artificial water. There are so many issues related to water, and of late 𝗵𝗵𝗁 is in limelight for water contamination, and repeated statements are given. Just I thought, because since morning we are addressing various issues, water also, maybe some input you can give.
I'll just give you a brief outline. Of course, relating to water, if there is any contamination, it all falls under the Water Act usually. That's one of the Environment Protection Acts. Even if they want to launch any form of prosecution, in terms of water connections, etc., it may not address that. This is talking about poisoning of water. I believe recently there was some theories with regard to the Delhi bomb blast also. There were terrorists who were planning to contaminate. We're not going there, but we're talking about groundwater pollution. I believe for your groundwater thing, over digging or something like that. There were a lot of notices issued. These notices and other show cause notices are issued under different statutes. You will always have a chance to explain the reason. Now, even if the rules say, okay, dig only 100 feet, you end up digging 150 feet. I think that's one of the contents I remember reading in the newspapers. You can always substantiate it why this has happened. And even if there's any action to be taken, it will all be filed through the authority, and there's always option available, because it's a question of inavailability. The reason why I'm digging 150 feet is there's no water available in 100 feet. That the state has to provide. So you'll always have plausible defenses which you can use, saying that I am not the wrongdoer here, because it's a question of survival end of the day. Now, whenever there is a statutory bar in digging further, and it's a question about your survival, always humanitarian grounds will take over. Even the courts are not, they're sitting in ivory towers, they don't know what the reality is. Everybody knows what the reality is. So on those lines, you have enough, even if you're given some shock or notice, you have enough time to respond to it in a legal manner. So you don't have to worry about threat of arrest or any criminal prosecution. Don't worry.
Thank you. Sir.
I have a question regarding the documentation and other things that we get from the builder, right? When we take the handover. Now, many a times the RW association members may not have the full competence, right? So he gives, okay, here is your, PESCOM approval, this document and all that, right? And, and in a hurry, maybe, they take it and then they would have done that. Of course, due diligence had to be done. But is there any help that we can get in terms of like validating it? Like, currently when we see maybe, deviations or whatever, right? So who do we approach? I mean, is there any common place where we can approach and say, okay, maybe do an audit and identify the gaps?
You've come to the services provided by Nemmadi and asking for Nemmadi service. Happy to help you, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Now, I mean, this is a common question across, because many of the RWA members, they are not technical specialists, right? Like whether it's a structural integrity or some seepage issue, or even a diesel generator, whether the height of the chimney is correct and all that. You don't know, right? So a lot of those things have to be done.
Nemmadi 𝗀𝗃𝗃.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I have a very different question altogether. one of the biggest problems, at least our kind of senior citizens homes face, is that there are no volunteers to come to occupy these hot seats. We are two of the sort of, fools who have been sitting in this chair for quite some time, and we have been accused of not delivering anything, clinging to our seats, etc. And when we say we are willing to step down, could anybody else come and sit in this chair? Deathly whisper, not a single nomination for elections. We are called for elections, but no nominations. The returning officer says, what do I do? 𝗵𝗵𝗁𝗶𝗃 hai. And we are continuing. And the liability is on our heads. And all of us are, very young, on the wrong side of 80, but that's neither here nor there, right? So, you see, the question I want to ask is, what happens if there are no volunteers to fill these management committee positions? What happens? You can't certainly force us, right?
Sir, what really happens is very interesting. If you're registered under the Societies Act, because there is a registrar of societies, you are able to appeal to him and ask him to appoint an officer to administer the society. But unfortunately, under the Karnataka Apartment Owners Act, as the concerned officer has not been notified, we are not able to get recourse to such an administrative measure.
But if the society,
Societies Act does provide.
yeah, but if that person gives you somebody to run your society, he'll run it to his will, not to your will. So
Sir,
that is
this kind of a argument which is there is a little perverse. I would expect and think he does it properly. If he does not do it properly, you will have to adopt
no,
administrative
but
measures.
that is a stone that they've put their own foot
Sir,
because
this-
they did not come up for elections. So it's a different
Very
discussion.
difficult to say, but definitely this is a lacuna, and I hope we all stand together and get the new Apartment Owners Management Act passed, and hopefully it would have such provisions.
So I think he's right in terms of administration. If nobody's coming forward, you can get the registrar if you're a KSRA or a KCSA. But I think your question is more in terms of when we have issues, who's going to come forward and solve it, right? It's not just about coming and running the association. I think that's a very difficult question to ask because it's a societal problem, it's a very personal problem. If I have an issue, I don't have an option, I have to deal with it, right? So in my experience, having dealt with so many apartment association, I think even one person is good enough. And in fact, a lot of litigations that I have fought for association, there is always just one person who's backing it.
And also,
And people underestimate the power of one person. I think one person is more than enough. So instead of asking who will do it, I think the question should be, I will take that up and lead as an example. I think that sort of works better.
So this is a slightly nihilistic view, but today hardly people even know our neighbors. Earlier, I knew everybody on my street when I grew up. Today, I don't know who my neighbor is. No chance. So in that kind of an atmosphere, I empathize with you that nobody wants to put in their free time. But that way, kudos to the members of 𝗵𝗵. They're putting in a lot of effort, a lot of work, and it's their free time, and they're trying to betterment of society. So the only thing is that we can look at other people who are as open-minded and as interested as everybody else.
Just on a lighter note, probably the people.
Smaller board of directors for committee managers, like 3 or 4, how many can come just for policy decisions. The facility management company can be appointed. They can run the operations day to day and report to this committee. What do you think the committee has to be empowered by?
His question is, how do we, when we don't have a committee to be empowered itself, there is no question of appointing an FMS. And furthermore, in that particular case, I don't think they have enough deep pockets to be able to do a lot of other things. So it's a slightly different situation.
Then we have to pay that 15% profit and 18% GST on all the RWA costs.
Sir,
so it's about 17%.
Sir, one interesting point which I would make is you definitely have enough reasons to go to the High Court and say you are facing a problem because no act really covers such senior citizens' homes, and you ask for an administrative officer to be appointed to help you out. That might be the way wherein you cite that the Registrar of Societies otherwise helps. That might be the way out. You may have to serve few notices. Please talk separately, we'll try to help.
Yeah, thank you. I think we'll have last question with the gentleman,
Yeah.
and then we'll have to call it a day because it won't be nice for them to come in and throw us out.
One, so, last question. Now that everything is online, many people want to attend the AGMs and everything online. So the problem is while passing the resolutions, we want to know how, if we do something digitally, how binding it can be legal, like from a legal point of view. It can be an email or whatever it is.
So typically, I think a lot of older bylaws don't specifically mention online AGM. At least the way I look at it is you need to do the same thing that you do physically, but you can host it online. Some associations, what I've heard is they put up the resolution and they give you 4 days to vote and come back. Now, that cannot be done if your bylaw doesn't permit. But on the other hand, instead of, let's say, seating in a room like this, you can say, this is the link, all of you join. We're going to conduct the AGM, but it's going to be done on an online platform instead of a physical venue. And follow the same process that your bylaw allows. At least in that manner, the courts may look at this setup as a non-violation of your bylaw. But if you try to hold AGMs like board meetings in companies, without that specifically being allowed in your bylaw, that may be subject to challenge. So that's where you need to sort of be careful depending on what your bylaws say.
If it says via email, resolutions can be accepted, right? Like acceptance for resolutions or something like that. Without changing bylaws, because it's there.
Yeah, I mean, I maybe want to look at this because there are resolutions that you can pass through circulations. There are different methods in which you can do it.
Okay.
This specific thing may require some bit of reading into what it says.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to all our panelists. I now request Anil to hand over the sapling to Uday sir, Ajay to hand over the sapling to Ramesh Padmanabhan sir, and Suhas to Krishna sir.